This is the TriMark replacement for the Rialta cabin door. Mine has a problem where this top bushing kind of wore out, so the thing is floppy here. The bushing is right in here. You might be able to see there's quite a bit of play here. So rather than waiting for it to fill, I decided I would get the new lock and install that. However, they're not the same. They're close, but there are some issues with them. The first issue, which we'll go over a little bit later, is the deadbolt shaft is shorter on this one, and the deadbolt doesn't come out quite as far, so it doesn't catch in the door. So that's one problem. I'm going to probably use a striker plate to make up the 1/8 inch difference. The second problem is this curve versus flat, and where that comes in is the actuator cover plate. Used to fit nice and snug behind here. Now you'll end up with a gap under there because it doesn't fit all the way in. If I flip this over, you've got these bars here, and so you end up with a hole there. So that's a problem. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this plate that's similar to fill in the gap, so it'll look okay. One other option is you can actually cut this piece to try to fit it in to get it to line up. I may consider that too. Another problem you run into is on the old model. You have this locking mechanism and this bar that's in here, and this goes to the actuator in the door. So if you're using electric door locks, you'll lose that function. The new one doesn't have that. This is the same. So those are some of the issues. They can all be overcome. And it also comes with the a new striker, or a new latch, I guess. But in order to put the new latch in, here's the door, the opening. I think what you have to do is remove these screws all the way down to the bottom of the door, and maybe pull this frame back in order to get this, because there's a metal plate here that's kind of part of the door. I don't know if I'll be able to get that off, but this old latch works fine, so I may just leave it and keep the new one in case I run into a problem. I can try to change it later. Now this is the actuator, and that pin goes right in here. I disconnected mine a while ago because I had the spring-loaded electric door lock. There used to be a spring that ran from here to here, and the wires were in it, and when they get pinched or wear out or crack, they short out, and I actually started getting a little fire going. But I was here luckily, and I was able to disconnect it before having further problems. In order to get the deadbolt hit, I just got a regular striker plate from Home Depot, and I think the thickness, definitely between the two, should be enough to catch it. This is the hole for it. You can see that, and I'll just mount this. I have to drill some holes and mount the striker plate here, and it should work fine. Final issue you run into is these support pieces that go around the old lock. They're too wide for the new lock the way it's designed, so I don't think I'll be able to get them on. There are a couple little blocks. These are underneath to help support the lock from moving. I'll probably use those, and this wider one that was put in there so the thing wouldn't slide back and forth is too thick, so I could probably just trim some off this and slide that in there. But whatever you do, you want to make sure the lock is not going to move around, because it's only there's 3 bolts that hold it on from the inside, here, here, and here, and those bolts just kind of compress the lock together. You need something to keep it from moving. It's possible it can move, so Another issue you run into these support brackets. Most of them fit okay. Sorry for, but this piece I think is going to have to be modified because trimmed off because it's a little too thick. There's a little more material inside this lock. Actually, I don't think you can even use the supports because the old piece had these red levers extended. And the new handle, inside handle, they're not extended, they're flush. So, if those brackets are in, I don't think it'll extend out enough to catch the shaft, so try to mount it without them. Now the shaft is extended for the deadbolt, so I'm going to shut the door. And you can see it barely hits, but you can actually push the door shut. So I'll just shut the door. Now it's all the way locked on the deadbolt. See, it just opens up. So if you look at the deadbolt here, you can see it's pretty recessed. If it was out another 1/8 inch, it'd probably catch. So this is the actuator cover. And as you can see, it doesn't cover up this area here behind the handle. So that's a problem. So my solution is to use this, hold on, to use a faceplate I got from the inside. I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to slide it in here. So you can see I slid that plate behind here. And then I'll just put the actuator plate, and then the texture of the two matches, so I think it'll look okay. Lock installation's complete. As I said, I used a cover, like one of these that's on the door from the inside, and used it here to fill in the gap, and then the plate just lays over it. So this plate's actually held in by between the lock pressure and this, so there's no screws in it. And actually, I thought I needed to. I'll shut the door. I thought I needed to put a plate in, a striker plate, but fortunately, it catches. So once I got all the silicone cleaned up and everything and got it on, it must just catch. So that's nice. So now I have a nice locking door and fairly clean installation. I'm going to leave it black. I left the old latch in. I didn't want to have to tear apart the door to do it, but maybe someday I'll put it in if the old one creates problems. But in the meantime, we'll just see how this works out, and should be fine. Much better than the old one. That ends the video. Thanks for watching.